Welcome to Book Banter, classic and modern reads, where every page sparks a conversation. Here, we dive into timeless classics and today's best-selling novels, bringing thoughtful discussions, reviews, and reflections on the stories that shape us. Whether you're revisiting an old favorite or discovering a new book, we're here to explore the characters, themes, and timeless truths within every page. So, grab your favorite book, settle in, and don't forget to subscribe for more engaging conversations with us. Let's get started.
Welcome to our deep dive into Alexandre Dumas' The Count of Monte Cristo.
Ooh, exciting.
It's a masterpiece, this novel, and it's captivated readers for almost 2 centuries now, with its intricate plot and, compelling characters and the exploration of these big, huge, universal themes,
I think what's so fascinating about it is that it takes us on this journey with Edmond Dantes.
Yeah.
This young sailor whose life is just completely shattered by betrayal.
It's almost Shakespearean, isn't it?
Absolutely.
This fall from grace,
Yeah.
the sense of the world completely turned upside down. And Dumas doesn't shy away
No, he doesn't.
from showing us this idyllic life that Edmond had in Marseille. Like, he paints a vivid picture of this young man's happiness, and it makes his downfall all the more tragic.
Exactly, and it's that contrast that makes the betrayal cut so deep.
Right.
It's not just that Edmond is falsely accused, but
Yep.
it's the people who orchestrate his downfall.
Oh, yeah.
Those he trusted.
It's the worst.
Fernand Mondego, his rival for Mercedes' affections. Driven by jealousy so strong that it twists him into a shadow of his former self.
Yeah, it's almost animalistic.
Right.
It's this primal urge to possess what another has.
Yeah, and then you have Danglars, the ambitious colleague, who sees Edmond as an obstacle to his own advancement.
A man whose greed knows no bounds.
Absolutely. And then there's Caderousse,
Oh, Caderousse.
that weak-willed friend who lets himself be swayed by promises of wealth.
Yeah, he's so easily manipulated.
Right, his moral compass is just lost.
I almost pity him.
Yeah.
He's not inherently evil,
Right.
but he's just so susceptible to temptation.
Yeah, and it's a reminder that even good people can become complicit in terrible acts when their moral foundation is shaky.
Absolutely. And what makes it even more devastating is that Edmund is completely blindsided.
Totally. He's so trusting,
Right.
so full of life that he never sees it coming.
Yep. And he's thrown into the infamous Chateau d'If, condemned to a living death in solitary confinement.
And that's where the real transformation begins.
Yeah.
Where Edmond Dantes starts to die.
Right.
And the Count of Monte Cristo is slowly, agonizingly born.
14 years. Can you imagine the psychological toll of that kind of isolation?
It's no wonder that he emerges a changed man.
It's just unimaginable.
14 years in that damp, desolate prison, stripped of his identity, his hope,
Everything.
his very humanity.
Yeah.
Dumas doesn't gloss over the brutality of his experience.
Right.
We see the physical and emotional toll it takes,
Right.
the slow erosion of his spirit, his descent into despair, and yet, even in that darkness, a flicker of defiance remains. The will to survive, to understand why this happened to him, keeps him from completely succumbing to the abyss.
And then enter Abbé Faria. This brilliant, eccentric fellow prisoner.
I love Abbé Faria.
He becomes Edmund's mentor, his confidant, almost a surrogate father.
He really does.
And it's Faria who rekindles Edmund's intellectual curiosity, teaches him languages, history, science, philosophy. I mean, he essentially equips him with the tools he'll need to navigate the world outside those prison walls.
Faria is more than just a teacher, though.
Oh, yeah.
He's a catalyst.
Okay.
He plants the seeds of the Count's revenge by revealing the location of the hidden treasure on Monte Cristo Island.
Right.
But what's even more crucial, I think, is how he helps Edmund make sense of the world. You know how he teaches him to see the patterns of human behavior, the motivations behind actions?
Yeah.
It's like Faria is arming Edmund not just with knowledge, but with a deeper understanding of the human psyche,
Right.
the very thing that will allow him to manipulate his enemies so effectively later on.
It's like Faria is both a savior and a tempter, isn't it?
Yeah.
He offers Etienne a way out, a chance for a new life, but he also sets him on this path of vengeance. And I'm fascinated by the escape itself.
Oh, me too.
The sheer audacity of it.
It's incredible.
Getting sewn into a burial sack,
Right.
being hurled into the sea, it takes a certain kind of daring, a certain level of desperation to pull that off.
It's a symbolic rebirth in a way. Edmond Dantes literally dies in that sack, and the Count of Monte Cristo emerges from the sea.
Wow.
And the discovery of the treasure on Monte Cristo Island.
Right.
That's his baptism into this new life, this life of wealth, power, and ultimately vengeance.
And it's fascinating how Dumas portrays the Count's transformation.
Yeah.
It's not just about the external changes.
Yeah.
The wealth, the sophisticated demeanor. It's about this fundamental shift in his psyche.
Completely.
He becomes his master strategist, a puppet master pulling the strings of his enemies' lives, orchestrating their downfall with chilling precision.
And here's where the moral ambiguity of this story really takes hold.
Yeah.
Is the Count serving justice, or is he consumed by vengeance?
Right.
He targets each of his enemies with meticulous care, exploiting their weaknesses, playing on their deepest fears and desires.
It's terrifying.
But as his plan unfolds, we start to question the righteousness of his actions.
Like take Danglars, for instance.
Yeah.
The Count orchestrates his financial ruin. But is it simply a matter of restoring balance? Taking away what Danglars gained through his treachery? Or is there a more sinister motive at play, a sadistic pleasure in watching his enemy crumble?
That's a great question. And then there's Villefort.
Villefort, oh yeah.
The ambitious prosecutor who buried evidence that could have freed Edmond.
Right.
The Count exposes Villefort's hidden crime, a crime that threatens not only his career, but his family.
It's a devastating blow, but is it proportionate to the wrong that was done to Edmond? Does the Count have the right to inflict that kind of collateral damage?
It's these questions that make The Count of Monte Cristo so compelling.
Absolutely.
Dumas doesn't give us easy answers.
No, he doesn't.
He forces us to confront the gray areas of morality.
Yeah.
To ask ourselves where the line lies between justice and vengeance.
I don't think there are any easy answers in this book.
I agree, and that line becomes even more blurred when we consider the psychological toll of the Count's quest. We see how the weight of his past, the years of suffering, the meticulous planning of his revenge, begin to warp his sense of self.
He becomes almost a phantom.
Yeah.
This enigmatic figure operating in the shadows, consumed by his mission, and you can sense the darkness that's growing within him.
Absolutely.
The way the pursuit of justice is twisting into something more obsessive, more destructive.
And I think that's what makes The Count of Monte Cristo such a powerful and enduring story.
Yeah.
It's not just a thrilling tale of revenge, it's a profound exploration of the human psyche.
Right.
Of the ways in which trauma can warp our sense of self, of the seductive and ultimately corrosive nature of vengeance.
Yeah.
It forces us to confront our own capacity for both good and evil, to ask ourselves what we would do in Edmund's shoes and what price we'd be willing to pay for justice. It really does.
Yeah.
And the story doesn't shy away from showing us those complexities.
No, it doesn't.
One of the most fascinating aspects of The Count of Monte Cristo, I think, is how Dumas explores the concept of identity. When Edmond Dantes is imprisoned, he's stripped of everything that defines him, his name, his career, his love, his very place in the world.
Right.
He's forced to confront the emptiness of his existence, the utter loss of self.
It's like he's being buried alive.
Yes.
Isn't it? And the emergence of the Count is almost like a resurrection, a phoenix rising from the ashes. But it's a twisted resurrection fueled by pain and the desire for revenge.
Precisely, the Count becomes this carefully constructed persona.
Right.
A mask that allows him to move through society undetected, to manipulate those around him, to enact his intricate plan. But it's also a shield, a way to protect himself from the vulnerability of his past, the rawness of his emotions.
It makes you wonder about the masks we all wear, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
The different versions of ourselves we present to the world, the ways we protect our vulnerabilities, the stories we tell ourselves to make sense of our experiences.
And what's so brilliant about Dumas' portrayal of the Count is that he never lets us forget the man beneath the mask.
That's true.
We see glimpses of Edmond Dantes in the Count's moments of compassion, in his love for Haiti, in his occasional flashes of guilt and remorse.
Right.
It's like there's this constant battle going on within him between the darkness that's consuming him and the embers of the good man he once was.
And that internal conflict is mirrored in the characters around him, particularly Mercedes.
Oh, absolutely.
She represents Edmund's lost innocence. The life that was stolen from him, their reunion after all those years, is one of the most emotionally charged scenes in the novel.
Oh, it's incredible. Imagine you're Mercedes. You believed the man you loved was dead.
Right.
You've built a new life. Married the man who betrayed him, raised a son, and then suddenly Edmund returns.
Out of nowhere.
Transformed into this powerful, enigmatic figure.
It's hard to even imagine.
The love you once felt is still there, buried beneath layers of grief, guilt, and the weight of choices made in the face of unimaginable loss.
It's a testament to Dumas' skill as a writer. that he manages to create such complex, believable female characters in a genre that often relegates women to the sidelines.
I agree.
You know, Mercedes isn't just a damsel in distress or a passive object of affection. She's a woman grappling with impossible choices torn between loyalty, love, and the ghosts of the past.
And her son Albert becomes a key player in the Count's game, unwittingly befriending the man who seeks to destroy his family.
Right.
And it's through Albert that the Count is forced to confront the humanity of his enemies.
Yeah.
To see them not just as the villains who wronged him, but as fathers, husbands, sons.
It's like Dumas asking us to consider the ripple effects of revenge.
Absolutely.
The unintended consequences that can extend far beyond the intended target. And speaking of unintended consequences,
Yes.
we have to talk about Villefort.
Of course.
His story is a chilling example of how ambition, unchecked by morality, can lead to utter ruin.
Villefort is a fascinating character because he starts out with good intentions.
Yeah.
He wants to protect his family, advance his career, serve justice, but he's so blinded by his ambition, so desperate to maintain his position, that he makes a series of choices that ultimately lead to his downfall.
It's the classic slippery slope argument, isn't it?
It is.
One compromise leads to another, and before you know it, you're knee-deep in moral quicksand.
Exactly.
Villefort's willingness to bury evidence that could have freed Edmund sets off this chain of events that will ultimately destroy his own family. It's a stark warning about the corrupting nature of power and the dangers of sacrificing one's principles for the sake of ambition.
And it's in Villefort's story that we see the theme of fate versus free will come into play.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there are certain events in the novel that seem predetermined, almost like acts of God.
Right.
But Dumas also shows us how individual choices, even seemingly small ones, can have a profound impact on the course of events.
It's like he's saying that even in the face of forces beyond our control, we still have agency.
Yes.
We still have the power to choose how we respond to adversity, how we let our experiences shape us.
Yeah.
Edmund could have easily succumbed to despair in prison, become a broken man.
Right.
But he chooses to fight to learn to transform his pain into a weapon.
And it's that choice that ultimately sets him on the path to becoming the Countess.
Right.
It's a powerful message, one that resonates with us on a deep level.
It does.
We all face challenges, setbacks, moments where it feels like life is spiraling out of control. But Dumas reminds us that even in those darkest of times, we have the power to choose our response, to shape our own destiny.
And you know, it's interesting how Dumas weaves in elements of humor and adventure amidst all this darkness.
Oh, yeah.
The scenes with the Italian bandits, the Count's playful interactions with Parisian society. It's like he's reminding us that even in the midst of tragedy, there's still room for laughter, for joy, for the sheer absurdity of life.
Those moments provide a necessary contrast.
They do.
A reminder that the world is not simply black and white, and they also serve to highlight the Count's complexity.
Right.
He's not just a vengeful figure. He's capable of wit, charm, and even a twisted sense of humor.
Yeah.
He's a master manipulator, playing a game with those around him, enjoying the intellectual challenge of outmaneuvering his enemies.
But there's always this underlying sense of melancholy, isn't there?
There is.
A reminder that beneath the surface, beneath the wealth and the sophistication, lies a broken man still grappling with the ghosts of his past.
And that brings us to the central question of the novel.
Yeah.
Can the Count find redemption after all he's done, all the pain he's inflicted? Can he find a way to forgive himself and those who wronged him?
It's a question that haunts the reader throughout the story, and it's one that Dumas doesn't answer definitively.
He doesn't.
There are moments where the Count seems to find a measure of peace, particularly in his relationship with Haiti.
Yes, Haiti represents a kind of innocence, a reminder of the beauty and goodness that still exists in the world. Her love for the Count is unconditional, unburdened by the complexities of the past.
Right.
She offers him a glimpse of a different kind of life, a life free from the shackles of vengeance.
But there are also moments where the darkness seems to be winning, where the Count is consumed by his quest for retribution. The ending of the novel is ambiguous, leaving the reader to ponder whether the Count truly achieves redemption, whether he finds a way to break free from the cycle of pain and revenge.
And I think that ambiguity is intentional.
Yeah.
Dumas isn't offering us easy answers or moral platitudes. He's presenting us with a complex, multifaceted character who is both hero and villain, victim and perpetrator.
And he's asking us to confront the complexities within ourselves.
Exactly.
To acknowledge that we're all capable of both great love and great darkness, that the line between justice and vengeance is often blurred, and that the pursuit of redemption is a lifelong journey. It really is. And it's that journey, that struggle for redemption, that makes The Count of Monte Cristo such a timeless and universally relatable story. Because ultimately, aren't we all searching for some kind of redemption? Some way to make amends for our past mistakes, to find peace in a world that often feels chaotic and unfair.
Absolutely. The novel speaks to something deep within us, this desire for justice, for balance, for a sense that wrongs will be righted. But it also cautions us about the seductive nature of revenge, the way it can consume us, twist us, turn us into the very thing we seek to destroy.
You know, one thing that always strikes me about the novel is Dumas' use of symbolism, like the Chateau d'If itself. It's not just a prison.
Right.
It's a symbol of Edmund's wrongful confinement, a representation of the injustice that was inflicted upon him, the way society can so easily cast out those who are deemed different or dangerous.
And his escape from the Chateau d'If, it's not just a physical escape, is it?
No.
It's a breaking free from the chains of his past, a shedding of the identity that was stolen from him. It's a symbolic rebirth, a chance to create a new self, a new destiny.
And then there's the island of Monte Cristo, the place where he discovers the treasure that will fuel his transformation.
Right.
It's a place of isolation, of mystery, of almost mythical proportions.
It's like a blank slate, isn't it? A place where Edmund can reinvent himself free from the constraints of his former life and the treasure itself.
Yeah.
It's more than just wealth. It represents power, the ability to control his own fate, to shape the world around him.
It's interesting how Dumas contrasts the opulence of the Count's life with the stark reality of his imprisonment. You know, the lavish parties, the exquisite food, the beautiful surroundings. It's all a facade, a way to mask the darkness that lies beneath.
Those contrasts are deliberate. They highlight the duality of the Count's nature, the way he's both drawn to beauty and obsessed with vengeance, and they also serve to emphasize the emptiness of material wealth.
Right.
The Count may have all the riches in the world, but he's still haunted by the past, still driven by a thirst for retribution that can never truly be quenched.
And it's that insatiable thirst that ultimately leads to his downfall, isn't it?
It is.
The Count's quest for revenge consumes him, blinding him to the suffering he's inflicting on others, the collateral damage that ripples outward from his actions.
We see how his manipulations affect not only his intended targets, but also innocent people caught in the crossfire. Mercedes Albert, even Haiti, they all bear the scars of the Count's vendetta.
It's a reminder that even with the best of intentions, even in the pursuit of justice, we can become instruments of pain, perpetuating the very cycle of suffering we seek to break.
And I think that's one of the most powerful messages of the Count of Monte Cristo.
Absolutely.
It's a cautionary tale about the corrosive nature of vengeance, the way it can poison our souls and blind us to the humanity of others.
But it's also a story about hope.
Yes.
About the possibility of redemption, about the resilience of the human spirit, even after all he's been through. Edmond Dantes finds a way to forgive, to let go of the past, to embrace a future that's not defined by vengeance.
It's a difficult journey, a struggle that takes him to the brink of despair, but ultimately he finds a measure of peace, a recognition that true happiness lies not in power or retribution, but in love, compassion, and the simple joys of life.
And it's that message of hope that continues to resonate with readers today, nearly 2 centuries after The Count of Monte Cristo was first published. It's a story that speaks to our deepest fears and desires, our longing for justice, our capacity for both great love and great darkness, and our enduring search for redemption.
The novel's legacy is undeniable. It's been adapted countless times for stage and screen, inspiring generations of artists and storytellers, and its themes continue to be explored in contemporary works reflecting our ongoing fascination with the complexities of human nature and the timeless struggle between good and evil.
So as we conclude our deep dive into The Count of Monte Cristo, I'm left with this lingering question. What does this story tell us about our own capacity for forgiveness? Can we truly let go of the past, of the hurts that have shaped us, and embrace a future that's not defined by vengeance?
It's a question that each of us must answer for ourselves, but I think Dumas offers us a glimmer of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, even after the most profound betrayals, the possibility of redemption remains.
Thank you for joining us on this exploration of one of literature's most enduring tales of revenge and redemption. We hope this deep dive has sparked your own reflections on the complexities of justice, the nature of identity, and the enduring power of the human spirit.
Thanks for joining us on Book Banter, Classic and Modern Reads. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you love this conversation, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into both classic literature and today's must-read books. Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let us know what book you'd love to see next. We release new episodes every week, so stay tuned for more. Until next time, happy reading.